Barbara signed, you can stand on the
Really? I thought I know that.
Hey, Teresa.
All right, let me get seated up in here.
Yeah, did you sign in?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Are you
Like
having a
just-
break?
Yeah, I am.
For a
It's
while.
bad.
I haven't come to.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yes, I did.
so you can sign.
There you go. Thank you.
Wow! I need all alumni to show up like this once a month. For the regular meeting, that would be great. Can you imagine the amount of support we can gather for the kids of this school if we were this many strong on a regular basis? So it's good to see everyone here. I just need to enlighten some individuals that have not been at one of these meetings before, is that we are just like any other organization. We have bylaws, we have a constitution. If there is anything that's called for a vote, you would have had to attend it 4 out of the past 12 meetings. And I think that's correct. Is that right? 4 out of the past 12 to be able to be a voting member of the alumni of this association. And you're welcome to have those rights in that association 3 meetings from now. So if you just want to keep coming, that would be wonderful. We are calling this to order. Right on. My name is Jeff Nichols. I'm the alumni president. And welcome, each and every one of you, whether you're from the community, whether you're from the alumni, parent, or administration. We have a presentation that I guess we have someone who wants to speak, Marcus Pruitt and Sam Golder from Red Clay Richter Secondary School to discuss the mascot. Whether they're going to do an introduction or not, I'm going to go through, some of the normal routine that we do before we get into it. And I'd like to start off with approval of March minutes. And did everyone have an opportunity to review the minutes? Did? I'm talking to my phone. You want to ask Teresa something?
Can I have your best approval thing, so I don't have to pass around another list? Yeah.
Now?
I mean, you have it separated after tonight.
She's doing a.
Okay, I'll just get that, and I'll pass it around. I'm done.
I only had one alteration that I saw, and that is Evan Hager, who had asked for us to support him on his computer science elective, or, well, there was just, it says posting, a web hosting membership, and I think it was 8 months of a web hosting. That was the only thing I saw, so you're close to perfect.
I have one thing, where it said that the museum inventory was not done on the snow that came to school was closed, that's why we didn't do it. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
Any other alterations? Do I hear a motion to pass them as presented other than the 2 alterations then? Motion, second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Here, no nays, so pass that.
At this point, to me, I'd like to make a motion that we suspend our regular agenda in light of our guests and the people who want to ask them questions. So if this part lasts not very long, we can have our regular meeting afterwards, but if this thing takes a couple hours, we'll just suspend our agenda until next month.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll suspend the normal meeting until we see exactly how
How long
much
is
time
that? Yeah.
the presentation may take. At this time, I'd like to turn the floor over to Mr. Pruitt and Mr. Bowler to make their presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sam Golder. I'm the Director of Secondary Schools with Red Clay. Certainly appreciate you all having us here this evening. I told my wife before I came that I didn't know what kind of crowd I was drawing tonight, but I feel like a bit of a movie star with everyone here looking at me. This topic has certainly become electric here for us just recently. And the superintendent, Dr. Doherty, asked me to make sure you take some good notes, get a summary from him tomorrow. But because I know it will be filmed, as the other discourse has been, I'm hoping I'll be able to even use that for my summary. So Again, thank you. Tonight for me and for Mr. Pruitt is just as much about questions and just as much about clearing up anything as it is about us presenting. You know, this has been much more noisy for us than we originally expected. It really has been. But, you know, like I've said to Mark and to lots of people I've discussed this with, it's not because either side has bad people on it. The Retire the Mascot Committee folks are not bad people. The Save the Mascot Committee folks are not bad people. This is a very tough topic. It is a national topic. It is a topic that is seen on college campuses and high school campuses throughout our great country. Folks are talking about this everywhere. Conrad is not alone. So for that reason, it's my hope that we are able to uphold civility in these discussions. You know, there have been some folks that have turned non-civil in these discussions. And, you know, I got to tell you, I spent a lot of time here at Conrad. I supervise all of our high schools in the district. Conrad is a source of tremendous pride for this community. Historically and traditionally, as you folks discussed at the board meeting the other night, but in the right now, Conrad is a tremendous source of pride for this community also. And that's been a team effort over a number of years. Teachers, students, administration. I got to tell you, this isn't just because I'm sitting right next to him. Mr. Pruitt is one of the top principals in our school district. He was the Delaware State Principal of the Year last year, #1 amongst all of his colleagues. And again, for that reason, I just want to emphasize, we're all good folks here, and we're trying to do right by our community, right by our kids, and right by those who may or may not be offended by this term. So I really wanted to make that clear. The Retire the Mascot Committee really did start as an organic group within the walls here at Conrad. It started as a response to literature, to correspondence the school received, to letters the school received, really ever since the reopening. Teachers and students started the group at the beginning as a branch off of their diversity committee. And later, when it seemed that yes, teachers and students wanted to pursue this, alumni and parents were asked to be a part of the committee. The committee was created to garner support for a change in the mascot. That was the original mission of that committee. And the committee at this point has taken form and has met several times. And Mr. Pruitt, with some questions, can discuss a little more about the committee structure itself. But at this point, there are a couple things we know that are on the table that need to be clarified before even questions are asked. And one of those is in relation to the C on the sign. I know that was something that came up at the board meeting. It's something Mr. Pruitt and I wanted to discuss right at the beginning in this meeting. And I'm going to allow Mr. Pruitt, since he was the author of that, to go ahead and say his piece. But again, if I could emphasize one last time, we're here tonight. We're here tonight to hear you. We're here tonight to let you vent if you want to vent. And we're here tonight to let you ask questions as long as you'd like. We will sit here as long as you want to ask us questions. I feel real strongly that that's the ethically correct thing to do. And I feel strongly that this is a good group of people that care a heck of a lot about Conrad.
Well, before we start questions, it'll just be brief. One is that at the board meeting on Wednesday night, and several people were there, I finished some comments regarding my decision to take the headdress off of the sign. And my intention was that I took responsibility for that. But in discussing it, I said, well, we actually just took the feathers off of the old script C or something similar to that. Only to find out the next morning that what the sign had was a C with a headdress, space, Conrad Schools of Science. So in fact, I took off the C and the headdress as one, like that meant what we know of as the logo. I just wanted, I know that there was some current concern. I think the board said they got some concerns about my misspeaking or however you would phrase that. And so I just want to be clear about that I did in fact misspeak. My intention while speaking was to say, yes, I did that because I thought I took the headdress off because I thought it was irresponsible to put up a sign only to potentially have it changed a year or two later. Other than that, I can ask, that's all I have. And I think we'd be better off answering questions.
Since that's the subject you started out with, when I met with you in November, the mock-up of the sign had the C with the feathers from the company you ordered it from.
In the summer?
No, November, then we voted on giving it the 6,000 in December. Assuming there would be a C with the headrest. So it's almost like we're led astray, whether intentional or not.
I know when we spoke originally, we had breakfast and lunch.
That was to go ahead with meeting in November in your office. I asked you, how much do you need from the alumni? You said around 6,000. When you showed me the picture of the sign you were going to order by the end of December because of the discount, it had the C with the feathers.
It had the C with the feathers up until the moment that I made the change to the headdress.
Well, see, now, you find that unethical. They took 7 money from us, and we're assuming it's going to be, yeah, Conrad with the C and the feathers, and then you decide not to. I think I can speak for everybody here. Had we known the C with the headdress would not have been on that side, you wouldn't have got the money.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Does everybody,
All right, let's
I agree.
yeah. I think it would have been an early indicator of why we're here today.
Call
For sure. It would have been an early indicator of the reasons why we're here today, instead of finding out in February.
It also makes the committee feel like a sham. And I don't want to put aside anything they've done and the hard work, but if you're talking about ordering this sign in December, and you have a committee whose mission is to garner support that doesn't meet until February, that makes everything suspect and probably fuels a lot of this community feeling, I don't want to, well, I'll say mistrust, but, you know, need integrity and transparency. And the timing is way off here.
Well, the discussion of the mascot has been ongoing in this building from the day I walked in. I mean, it never does much time go by where I'm not having a discussion about the mascot with someone. It became up formally for the first time in October, late September, October, at a meeting, and was discussed for several months, until I gave the committee an opportunity to say, look, here's what I think, if there's people that are interested in this, here's what you have to do. And that was discussed in December. The committee, I think, started in February.
Interest that this has stirred up and the relationship that we've had with you all along. As soon as something like that speaks to the history was brought up, I guess I'm just curious why you never came and talked to us about it. Because you've met with us off and on, you've talked to us about all kinds of things, and I just, especially because it has stirred up such a historic, it's all about the history and the culture, that this would be the first group you come to and say, look, this is coming up and it's an issue. And I think you would have gotten a lot of positive interest and feedback at that point that maybe wouldn't have brought us the way it did to where we are today.
Because of the sign.
No, I'm talking about, you said since the beginning, since the day you walked in, you said, this has been an issue. And I just think it would have been, I wish you'd started talking to us right at the beginning about this.
Yeah. Well, I spent a long time, and I, certainly not daily, but I spent years with people saying, look, we're not comfortable with this, we're not doing this. And you know, I sort of would deflect it and say, well, that's kind of who we are, you know, and it got to a point where, you know, we started to
Right.
receive information, and so I sent members of our community on a path to consider whether they could make a change. I mean, there has been nothing to indicate that we are making a change at this point.
Oh, no, and
I think that's one
validate-
misconception
I
that
very
I
much
have.
validate what you're saying, but I think it might have been a lot more positive and useful if, when that was happening, you would come to us initially.
Right.
It would have been really
It's a
helpful.
solid.
Yeah, I mean, look, I appreciate what you're saying, Sue. I mean, there's a lot of people here I had not met, but the folks that come on a regular basis, I mean, obviously, I've developed close relationships with all of you. And so, I feel bad that this group is upset with the process, you know, particularly those that I know personally over 6, 7, 8 years. So, we're here to answer questions and try to find a path forward.
Yes, what I'm hearing you say is that, what I'm hearing you say about the sign is that I'm hearing you personally decided to take the headdress off it. Is that correct?
Correct.
So if you personally decided that before it would really happen, wouldn't you go back to the alumni, especially hearing Ozzy say, you had this meeting, you saw the picture. Why, if you were going to do that, it just seems so basic to me, why you want to go back to Ozzy, who represents the alumni. I'm going to take that off. And, you know, at least that would be, I just think that would be the honest thing to do. The money was accepted from the alumni. I haven't done an awful lot to be a fundraiser, but I've tried to participate where I can. So that's what I'm hearing you say. You personally made the decision. No matter all the things that have come over the years, we've heard the bits and pieces too over the years. Ever since.
I guess what I'm saying, the decision lies with me. You know, concerning what I thought was the best decision regarding the matter, knowing that we were going to potentially put a lot of money, $14,000 into a sign that may be changed. We didn't put a new logo on it, but I thought, all right, let's just go generic here, so nothing has to be changed down the road. That's going to upset people. They gave money to something that then has to be changed a year
Did it
later.
occur to you that would upset people by the fact that he met with you, saw a picture of it? That you couldn't go back and say, well, we're not going with that. You took the money, you accepted the money. So did that occur to you to say something that you made that decision to let us know? That decision, no.
I'm hearing now that people are very upset by that, and I believe that.
Does it make sense to you, or is that nothing to you? Would that not bother you? That you saw a picture of it, they donated the money, and then it was switched because you made the decision to do it. That's what I'm having a hard time with. Even if, I'm not a regular member of this alumni association at all the meetings, that's just a basic common sense thing to me.
Right.
It didn't occur to you, or did you not think it would be upsetting?
I did not think it would have the impact that it has. That's for sure.
I have some, if you want to ask a question, we have sheets being filled out, they're being passed around, so if you could fill that out, it's probably going to be a little easier for me to stay on top of who has a question and who doesn't without having to see whose hand went up first.
First, I want to say I had great respect for you. I thought we had a good rapport with the organization. I never suspected to be suspicious of anything from you. I think originally this actually started, I got a phone call from a parent that has children in school, 2 children. And they said, blah, 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 blah. And Mom was like, no, Mark Pruitt, the principal, comes to our meetings all the time. He certainly would have told us. I called Jeff. Jeff was like, no. The other 501c organization is the alumni band. Said something to Tim. He was like, no. Neither one of them. Oh, okay. So then I called you on 2/4. It was the first time that was just a rumor. And we were on the phone for over an hour.
I remember where I was.
And I asked you a lot of questions about transparency. Has this been going on? How long? Is there a meeting? no, there's not really meeting, there's been talk, but there's been no meetings. And now, I've had anything from 3-year timeline from the leadership of your senior class, who says this has been for 3 years, to 1 year, to when we actually, this organization got your presentation, was on 3/16, was the first time that we were officially told the intentions of this committee. Now, the 4 youngsters that came here, I feel that they're as much a victim as anybody, because they had adult educator leadership in this diversity committee. And I even said at that last meeting, if you remember, because my father always said we had a small amount of American Indian innocent because of my affiliation with the alumni band, I'm very cautious about how I wear, what I wear, how I represent, who I represent. Since 1984, since the first Nanticoke powwow that I took my children to, I've continued to go. And I've had a conversation with the Nanticoke tribe people, as well as Lele Lenape, which Jeff laughed and said, which Jeff said, did we go to Lenape Park and we didn't know it? Yes, because we called it Lenape. What they said to me was they were more offended by the way we pronounced their tribe than they were anything else that we did. They also informed me that we sustained their tribe and funds, that a lot of them are out into the regular workforce and they've integrated into the white race of America as we have into theirs, and they have quite a diverse group. They no longer go to war, so the bonnet that we wear, that's technically a war bonnet that was hung inside out in the inside of the teepee, and there was only one, and it was owned by the chief, and they hope to not go to war very often, is now a ceremonial piece. So I'm not going to war with anybody or the 12 other women that wear it with me. It's a ceremonial piece that we wear respectfully. They don't have a problem with this. They make these items, they sell them. They sold furs long ago in the 1600s. They actually signed a new treaty in Philadelphia a few years ago, the Lenape, to reaffirm what they had done for the peace treaty years ago. There's a cultural center in Dover for the Lenapes that you can visit. They show you old American Indian games before computers that they would play. They talk about health, they talk about herbs, they talk about plants and the environment, and the same with the Nanticoke tribe. They also have a museum, they have the powwow. This could have been a real teachable moment for the committee of diversity to really dive into what's going around the United States and what's also going on in our own state. This was not a teachable moment. This was tell them, hey kids, did you know you got $200 for a bloody scalp? Now, that is part of what did happen at one time that was horrible. But there were certainly a lot more things that happened with the American Indians, especially in our state, besides that. And this could have been a very teachable moment, and this could have been something that they could have really done as a field trip and really benefited from. And I feel that the kids were sold short by a few parents that had some kind of agenda that I don't understand what it is, and copied and pasted a few things from the Redskin football team. And that's where all their information came from. They didn't really delve into the internet. We're a bunch of old, not very bright people on the computer. And we found in a month's time now, a lot more information. And so if you've been working on it 3 years, 1 year, 6 months, whatever the timeline is, I feel like that the kids, the students, were sold short by not really getting a broader picture. They were only told to look at this picture. And some of the overheads I was offended by, because you showed an overhead of an Indian tribe that they were all dirty and the kid was like in the corner and they talked about them being poor or whatever. I didn't think that was a fair depiction. There are some that are, but that's what those kids were also showed. They've now integrated in our society. They're lawyers, they're doctors, there's, some of them stay on the reservations or close to home, and some of them have diversified and married. There's a whole article about how they married Europeans and brought them in. So I just feel like, I won't say anymore, my time's up, but I feel that that the committee was sold short by the leadership. And I'm disappointed that you were not truthful with me. I trusted you. I'm very upset about that.
It wasn't necessarily a question, I think it was more of a statement, but if you'd like to respond in any way, or else we'll go to the next question.
Any research or documentation that's been collected has been done in the last 3 months, since February. Jeff, you know that.
In all honesty, saying I know that, there would be no way I would know that.
Well, you know what's been presented.
I know
Nothing's been presented prior to that. The students came with that information in February, at the 4 meetings that we've had. I can say this, that early on, the committee was interested in doing an educational piece for the students. And that, because there's board policy, which requires political issues to be taught in a balanced way, we have not been able to do that. We are looking at potentially doing that, but would not do it without having discussion. And I believe that is going to be a topic at the next Retire the Mascot meeting, and with guest presenters from the University of Delaware.
Kind of putting the cart before the horse, that you already had made the decision to do it without the information that was, if that's what you're telling me, I'm a bit confused. It sounds like you made the decision to retire the mascot when you didn't have the full picture of the research.
There has been no decision to retire the mascot. These are 20.
The committee was called the Retire the Mascot Committee.
Correct. Because they are 25 people, okay, except for the 4 from the alumni. The purpose of the committee was to retire the mascot. But they can't do that without the support of the school and the
Mark Dorn
community.
said during his presentation for the superintendent report that they didn't need it. He recited chapter and verse in whatever the code was that they could change at any time, and they were trying to be transparent then, but they didn't need to be. They just were trying to be nice about it. So I'm confused about a lot of different statements and timelines, and there's a lot of
If I could just clarify the educational piece about the lesson, the social studies lesson, that the reason we did not move forward with the social studies lesson, after much discussion really, was for the reason of folks thinking we were indoctrinating an idea to the students. Without us feeling comfortable we had good information on both sides of this issue, we did not want to teach a lesson where we had teachers maybe instituting their bias on the issue. So we said, let's pull back. This is not a good idea.
At the presentation on 3/16 that Mark and the 4 students and the 2 teachers made, there was no information packet to what you're speaking.
Are you talking about the lesson I'm referencing?
You're saying that you had an equal amount of information for both keeping and not, but we were not presented that.
No, I'm not saying that. That's incorrect. I'm saying if we had taught a lesson at Conrad where we had 50 teachers in here potentially exercising their bias on what is a very controversial issue, we thought that was a bad. I'm actually agreeing with you, I think, in a very indirect way. We wanted this to be a balanced educational component rather than a biased educational component. For the reasons you're saying. We did not want to make it look like 50 adults were indoctrinating an idea on 1,100 students.
That's
so
why
we
the Feathers
pulled back.
and the Redskins have been stricken from all uniforms for a year because you were trying to be unbiased.
I'm talking about the lesson right now. We can talk about uniforms. That could be. I'm talking about that educational lesson that we bounced around briefly and said, hey, you know what? Let's hold back on that. Let's hold back on that. I don't think we're disagreeing with each other.
I think we're disagreeing with a lot here. I was told a student had told their parents that they have no idea why I seem shocked by this because the alumni has been informed since last year, meaning last May. So even the kids are kind of confused on when we got involved. We must look like a bunch of lunatics coming on so strong right now. They think that we've been part of this process that's been going on since last May, when they had asked for uniforms to be purchased without the headdress being on it. Because you're looking for longevity of your money. I get that, you get the longevity of the sign, but that's all with intention that it won't be there.
That's an indicator.
And that also makes it less prominent in this school, reduces the amount of pride, reduces the amount of tradition, and protecting the tradition is our mission statement for the alumni. So basically, you're making us useless.
7 years ago.
Mark, there's a question from, or a statement from going forward by Don Questioning.
Good evening, guys. Sitting here listening to this, I was at the board meeting last Thursday night, and I heard the audio, Mark, of your presentation after most of the alumni had left. I think many of us agree, had we known you were going to speak, you'd have never left. I'm going to be very brief. It's a question, it's a statement, but after what I'm hearing here, what I heard in that board meeting, and what I heard you say to the board after we left, and directly, that the Old English C is still on the sign. The headdress is not, but the Old English C is not. I have a picture that it's not. It is a regular C, and now my question to you is, going forward, how are we supposed to believe anything that comes out of your mouth? Jeff, I'm done.
And we did talk about this a little bit earlier. I've known, and again, this is going to appear biased, because here I am, I've worked with the guy for 9 years. I truly believe that at that podium, at that very moment, being interrogated, I think Mark made a mistake about what was on the sign.
Mistake? You flat lying.
I think it was a legitimate mistake. I did really.
He also left out the S of school.
Is that the right name?
So if we have to replace it, I've got a suggestion for it. Jerry Moretti, is that right? I'm sorry, the handwriting, I apologize. For Mr. Pruitt, class of 1969, is it?
Oh, that's me. Jim Burnett.
Oh, Jim, sorry.
I appreciate we've been talking about transparency and most views being presented. The first question I have for you is, I'm hearing it here.
Oh, yeah.
The retire the mascot. Are you hearing now?
Yes.
Okay, because I can put them together. The retirethemascot.org website includes a document entitled that, a PDF document.
You're saying the national, the retire the mascot?
No, Conrad. There is a Conrad.
They're having trouble hearing you, your group.
Stand up.
It's a tough audio with this.
I'm getting amplification right underneath something.
That's the response.
Yeah, I understand. The retirethemascot.org website, which is the committee's website, I believe. The Conrad.
There's no website, but.
Well, the PDF document I retrieved from, when was that distributed? Was it disseminated to the students?
No.
So it wasn't. But it's available publicly online.
Correct.
It has 4 major errors in the first 3 bullet points that you have. First of all, the NCAA has not banned any mascot. The noted schools, when they came out with policy in 2005, were reviewed. Florida State Seminoles got permission to continue the use. Some of the schools did not. But the only ban is for the use of the logos or the names on uniforms for the athletes, cheerleaders, band, etc. in national championships. I'll read for it. I have to put my cheaters on it. Sorry about that. In the August 5 press release, 2005 press release by the NCAA that announced this policy, they said, and I quote, "Colleges and universities may adopt any mascot that they wish, as that is an institutional matter." Now, they encouraged schools with Indian mascots to continue that, but there's no ban. The second mistake, and this is fact, not the fiction that's put out by that document. The Redskin mascot is banned in 3 states: Wisconsin, Maine, and Oregon. Again, that's pure fiction. Wisconsin, Governor Scott Walker last year signed a bill that repealed the previous actions in 2010 and provided several categories. There was no ban, again, on the use of these type of mascots, but instead of having the 2010 law, which said a single person could make a complaint, and then the Department of Education would have to address it, people with complaint have to submit a petition with signatures equals 10% of the school district. If the agency decides a hearing is warranted, then they do the review. And it also provided that districts that reach an agreement with the tribe to use an American Indian likeness can't be stripped of that name on mascot. Maine, there is no law in Maine that bans the R-skin mascot. There were 2 resolutions provided to try to get the Cleveland Indians to drop the Chief Wahoo image. And I agree with most people in that regard. It's a bit demeaning image, the big grinning Chief Wahoo. But really, the only thing those resolutions did was say that the Cleveland Indians baseball team immediately dropped use of the mascot, Chief Wahoo. Didn't say anything about the name, Indians, which would demonstrate the team understands the disrespect this symbol represents to the Penobscot Nation, of which Louis Sakalensis was a former Indian, Cleveland Indian, and a Native American as well, of the Penobscot tribe. Oregon? No law in Oregon. The only relevant actions is something that there was a bill introduced in 2014, passed by both houses, and signed by the governor, that permits district school boards to enter into a written agreement with the federally recognized Native American tribe. No ban, just permits the school board to get into these agreements. I went on briefly at the board meeting last week about the blacklist litigation that was before the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board and now is in the Eastern District of Virginia District Court, Federal District Court. The dissent, there were 3 judges on that TTAB panel. 2 voted in favor of canceling the marks. But they also pointed out they don't have the statutory authority to prevent the Redskins from using the mark, just cancel it. The dissenting judge, her dissent is very instructive and should be considered in making this. There's so many reasons why I'd be happy to help the committee understand the errors of their ways and getting out a fair and balanced demonstration of why these mascots should or should not be changed. And that's after retiring with more than 30 years experience as a patent, trademark, and copyright lawyer.
Also, Jim, I wanted to make sure I got your name.
Sure, Jim Burdett, B-U-R-D-E-T-T. Class of 69.
I didn't make it clear for you, obviously.
It's the old scribble.
Teresa Satterfield, did you want to speak now? Later. Okay. Nancy Glib for Mr. Gore.
Sam, on your diversity committees, you have these diversity committees in every school?
That's a great question, but I do not know the answer to. I'm going to guess no, to be honest.
Okay, and why?
But there are several committees in schools that aren't located at all schools either. I mean, schools kind of, those committees in schools are, they come from within interest in the student body.
What diversity committee presented for the
That's the district diversity committee.
The district
Correct.
committee.
I'm not on that
Is put together by administration, staff,
School board
members.
appointed committee, the diversity.
Pardon?
The school board doesn't appoint the members, but the school board instructed the superintendent to create a diversity committee at the district level. I do not serve on that committee. I only say that in case you're going to ask me what happens.
And do they look at all aspects of what's going on in the district, sports, logos, names, Or are they just looking at Conrad?
Oh, I would think it's a comprehensive district committee.
Okay. Well, I want to show you something tonight. And I don't know why I didn't think of this before, because I'm also an employee of the district, but tonight I'm a community member. Back in the late 1990s, our superintendent, Dr. Doherty, was principal at HB DuPont Middle School. And I'm sure he's very well aware that they support Indian also.
They're the Warriors.
And I'm really offended because not only did I live in the community, my husband's an alumni, my children are alumni, my family are alumni. I was PTA president here for 6 years when my kids were here. I feel like I'm an alumni, but why is Conrad being put the spotlight that we should be changing? Because this is going to set a precedence. As a taxpayer, it's going to take thousands of dollars. And I don't care if Mr. Pruitt says it's over a period of time, it's still tax dollars to make these changes. And if Conrad's going to have to change, I think what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I don't understand why. Because a couple people, you have what, 25 on your committee? Why a couple people are able to make this change? When you've had hundreds, and if you want thousands, we can get thousands to stand up and say keep it. It's never been offensive. It's never been used in an offensive way. It's been there to show love and honor. And this school didn't have a problem embracing the alumni and all that they could bring to this school. This school rebuilt itself on the backs of the alumni in the community. And your alumni in your community saying enough's enough. I don't know about you, but in my world, majority wins.
Jeff,
And I think we have a whole lot of people.
there was a comment that I didn't make that is pertinent to this thing right now. It's in the form of, did you know? Henry C. Conrad himself, in the first page of his 3-volume seminal history of Delaware, referred to red men. He did it with respect when he pointed out that the early settlers of Lower Delaware have been victims of a massacre. He didn't refer to them as redskins or red savages, he just said savages. And after he continued to use, on page 2 of that seminal history, red men, it was with respect and remarking that the natives, the Lenape and Nanticles specifically, worked in concert with the settlers and were very good to them.
Mary Ann Fox, I'm class of 66, and I love this school. I love the people here. I'm an alumni band member. I've got bad osteoarthritis from years of marching to represent this school. I marched in Ireland, and I think that we all love this school, and that's the platform that I'd love to see us come together as. I think it is a teachable moment. Someone said that. I wanted to ask, my question was, is the diversity committee here open to any new members? I teach in a graduate program of mental health, a majority population of students that have Native American, African American, and very diverse. We've had some great discussions over the last couple of weeks because I've wanted to really have some open dialogue. So my basic question is there room on the committee for any alumni who have a real curiosity and start from this place where we are all now before decisions are made? And that's my question. Is it open or closed?
Yeah, the answer would be yes, it's open. I think the more diverse the committee can be, the better. I'd be glad to, I'm gonna need to get your name and number or email or something when we're done here, but I'll reach out to you. Sure.
Where is that? Where is the meeting going to be held?
where
I got
and
the
when?
date
Which
and the
meeting?
time, but not where. The next.
The Retire the Mascot meeting is 6:30, April 28th, in the library.
Oh, it's going to be in the library?
We're moving it to the library so that we can have better, I mean, there was a few people from the public, maybe 4 or 5 last meeting, but we're moving it to 6:30, moving it to the library, posting it on our website, letting you guys know
I got
tonight.
back to her that she told me the time, the date, but it didn't say where, so I didn't know if you wrote it up and down.
Yeah, we'll set up a situation where there's, sort of a semicircle for the committee, offer seating for members of the public, and have a public comment section at the end of the meeting.
Mr. Pruitt, have you reached out to your student body, to those who are in support of keeping this mascot? Because I think there are a lot of voices there within your student body that are saying, we don't want to lose our mascot. We carry it with pride and honor.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely correct. And what I would say to that is, no one has reached out to anyone. Other than the 25 members of the committee, they had a very specific plan. And they were looking to gain support in April or May. They've pushed that back now because the timeline's been pushed back by a year. And so the average student in this building doesn't know much about it unless they've gone to that web page or unless they've, we haven't started to ask them what their thoughts
Well,
are.
this is the thing. If you haven't heard from the other parts of the student body, other than these 25 kids that you're saying are on it, tells me
25
that
people, that's 25 kids.
25 people, these graduating class of seniors that are on this committee are going to be gone. And the next class is going to be gone. And the next class is going to be gone. But we're always going to be here. This community is always going to be here. There's always going to be a Conrad alumni. They're going to leave. And the students are going to leave. I mean, I see this change. I see you trying to change something that has a long history and tradition of pride and honor.
I guess I would ask this, and I ask this honestly, looking for feedback. I mean, do people that are on the opposite side of this issue, do they have, how does this group feel they should be able to assemble and check the pulse of the community, or however you would best say that? I mean, these are people who honestly feel they're doing what is right.
Yeah,
But they also don't
you're
believe-
garnering support. That means you're accumulating, you're fighting, you're going out, and you're trying to gain.
Well, I would say that that's probably the same, that they have not done that yet, at all.
Have you been reading Twitter? Because I just got a new lesson in Twitter. I'm all over it now. I didn't even know I'd be on it.
I'm on Twitter. I mean, I use it as a
Have you
big
been reading
one.
that? You don't feel like that is...
I need an example.
Your Channel 10 piece said, "I will make them see," and then you changed it to, "I will teach them." So you say,
Me?
yeah,
Yes.
you will
said,
make them
"We will
see,
make them see,"
that it's wrong,
and then you
and then
change it.
change it to, "I will teach
Like I
them."
said.
So that's.
In the same,
Sentence.
I don't know.
Yeah, the same sentence.
You change,
We'll
because
make
you
them
stopped
see.
it after you
We'll
realized.
teach.
I mean, the Retire the Mascot Twitter account, I know, retweets everything. So if, matter of fact, last time I was on there, I think Nancy, you tweeted something, and the Retire the, which was obviously pro keep the mascot, and the Retire the Mascot Twitter account retweeted it. There are people that, when a student comes on and says, I want to save the mascot or whatever. It's not as simple as that usually. Kids are clever in their remarks. He retweets it. When someone says something about retiring the mascot, he retweets it to create dialogue online. That's what the kids do with Twitter. But he has been pretty consistent with retweeting everything.
You realize you have faculty that are telling the kids that it's a done deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I'm unaware of. I have had one concern from a parent.
I'm the parent. I emailed you, you did
email me back, and I appreciate it, but I was very upset that my daughter went to testing, which I don't even agree with Smarter Balance testing, but she went to testing and the teacher is telling them, how would you like it if you were called white skins, black skins? It's offensive, it's racist, period. My child can make her own decision. She can do her own research and not be told by the teacher, who's there to teach her, who's there to do the testing, not even teach her, that's offensive. That was not her place to tell my child that.
I agree.
I have a student.
And I did tell you that today. I mean, I did, you know, I got back, this afternoon, I think you sent it Friday.
If we're not going to communicate with the kids and just act like this committee's going to keep it with themselves, these kids are already being made aware of it, and they're being made aware of it in a negative light. It needs to be brought out into the open, and these kids need to be able to respond their own way and be taught, or not be taught, but look into this themselves.
Well, that's one of the plans. I think that would be really helpful going forward, and it's going to be one of the topics at the Retire the Mascot Committee, which is how can this be taught, A, in a balanced way, and secondly, is it appropriate for the curriculum? You know, does it fit? That was my questions to Fran O'Malley from the University of Delaware. Because at this point, the committee wants to, said, well, you know what, we'll have a social studies lesson. Well, I don't know that the 25 members who want to change the mascot ought to be just setting up a lesson. That doesn't fit with board policy, and I need to see where it fits into the curriculum. And so we've got a couple people, hopefully, coming out on the 28th, and I think that's probably going to be one of the, probably the lead topic that evening.
I have lists of names.
You are absolutely correct.
That's not isolated.
William Gore.
That's right here. My name is Bill Gore. I graduated from Conrad in 1960. There's a couple behind me here that are from 60 as well.
My brother was 60.
I became aware of this issue, I guess about 3 weeks ago. I got an email. I went to 2 Westview church meetings, and I went to the meeting last week. I had also sent a letter to every board member prior to the meeting, and I got one response back, which doesn't sound too impressive to me, that they don't have the time or the interest to respond back to people who take the time to write to them. And I just wanted to come tonight and throw out my 2 cents about what I see going on. It seems to me that about 2 years ago, the Washington Redskins football team became a real hot issue for, I guess, maybe a few months. And that sort of fell by the wayside. I give the owner a lot of credit. I'm not a big sports guy, but he stood by his view and nothing was changed. If you were to change, if you're not going to change a national team, you could do the Chicago Blackhawks, the Wilmington Red Devils when the Wilmington High School was here. It goes on and on. And I personally am just tired of all the political correctness.
Yes.
I'm listening to Mr. Pruitt, who you're the principal here, correct? He's already prejudged just in his own determination by changing part of the sign, changing, I think, some of the uniforms. You have 20 or 25 people in this diverse group, and these changes have already taken place. A question, sir, to you would be, based on all of what's been going on in the last 3 or 4 weeks in the opposition, and concern about your changes and what is being advocated, if you could change anything, would you do that now, or are you going to maintain the same position? Would you change the sign? Would you change the uniforms based on 25 people or whatever?
I've already changed the sign.
I
Well,
don't
there
know
was
that I
something.
would change the uniforms. I'm unaware of.
I'm talking about the headdress.
Yeah, I mean, the headdress off the uniforms, I don't think is occurring. I mean, coaches do make their own, and the athletic director do make decisions. I mean, some years they use the C, some years they use the C with the headdress.
That wasn't just step 1 of step 5 or whatever.
Exactly.
No, I send out a bi-weekly newsletter see with the headdress on it every other week. I mean, you know, until it changes, we're still the Conrad Redskins.
Okay. Who ultimately will make the final decision with regard to this issue?
This is uncharted territory for the district. Originally, this was going to be a school-based committee and a school-based decision. It has gotten a lot of attention, obviously.
It's going to get a lot more. I think...
Can I finish my statement?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
possible? It will get a lot of attention, and it's been creating so much passion, and good passion, as I said at the beginning, good people on both sides, that we believe it is going to now be higher than a school-based decision. We need to work through that at the district level. We do not have a policy on changing mascots at the current time on our board policy manual. And because this is uncharted, we need to come together as a leadership group and decide what the end product decision looks like. We really do. And it's not fancy.
Just a couple more quick questions. I guess back to Mr. Pruitt, and then if you'd like to respond, you can. At the church meetings that I went to, there was a figure of $50,000 that was bandied around about what it would cost to change the Conrad logo. I found that to be ridiculously low. I would think it would cost a couple of $100,000. My question is, has anybody, Mr. Pruitt, has anybody legitimately and earnestly looked in to see what those costs would be? Because the irony of it, if I'm right, and it's a couple $100,000 rather than 50, that ultimately is going to come back in some sort of school referendum, and the people in this room are going to have to pay for it.
I think that is an issue that needs to be considered if you're going to make a change.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think there's also the issue of what needs to be changed. I mean, for example, if there's a football scoreboard with a headdress in the corner, does that need to be changed because a mascot has changed? You know,
but nobody's really looked at the potential figures and still.
Well, the committee's only been meeting since February.
Been told. I don't have anything further. I just think that it's semi-predetermined.
Neil, Marsh, is it? I'm terrible. Davis?
You got that right. Well, you should have known that already, Jeff. It's Neil Davis, class of 65, Conrad, Redskin. As my grandson said at the school board meeting, he doesn't want the change to happen. He will graduate a Redskin whether you change it or not. He doesn't care as far as the final decision. He will always be a Redskin. He comes from a long family history of Redskins. But it goes back to, you got 25 people in this little group that think that it should be changed. There's over 100 signatures in just the sophomore class alone in opposition to that. Are you aware of that? Are you aware of the fact that there's over 715, probably 730, probably a lot more by now, community member, alumni, people that don't even belong to this school district who are in opposition of your change proposal? It's not a good idea to go against the mass thinking that a few people are going to win this battle. You may, as principal, make this decision. You already have made it hard by the sign, by taking the headdress logo off, because the headdress is an Indian headdress. So you don't say, well, we'll get rid of the Indian, but we'll keep the headdress. You can't do one and not the other, because the headdress belongs on the Indian in the first place. If you're going to change this, number one, that $50,000 figure is probably just to replace the brand new floor that has the headdress in it in the gym. That's going to come out of taxpayer money. You've already changed the header on some of your letterhead. It just says Conrad Schools of Science in all capitals with no headdress. You change it to sign. You've taken the headdress and C off of some of the helmets and other pieces of uniforms. But you've got a number of kids who have already spoken out in favor of keeping it the way it is because it is tradition, it's history, it's love, and it's honor. And and you're gonna come forward as the principal who's supposed to direct education, separate from politics. You're supposed to address education. The teachers are supposed to address education. And you're not doing that. You've stepped out of your own position in violation of your contract by taking a political stand on this issue. And the teachers who have spoken out against the mascot and the Redskins name have also violated their contract. And in my opinion, you ought to be all replaced right now. Off of that sign, it was agreed to have that logo on it. You made that decision without even coming back to this group and saying, can I do that? Or do you want your money back? You just did it. The sign exists without the headdress logo and the seal on it. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I've been peaceful. I've spoken my piece to the school board member, like Mr. Gore. I sent a letter to every board member. I got one response, and it was a blanket response. I found out everybody got the same response from Rivera, the head of the school board, as opposed to each person individually.
Correct.
We also found out, and correct me if I'm wrong, the one person who spoke out at the school board meeting in favor of the change happens to be married to a school board member. Isn't that a violation of conflict of interest on her part? Decision or involvement in this because of her relationship with a one-sided argument. I could go on, and I probably will in the next year and a half, or until the decision is made by you without any real justification here. We have never dishonored the American Indian. There's an American Indian president, actually I think there's at least two present in this meeting right now who are opposed to any change. One of which graduated from this school and was a part of the band, twirler, cheerleader organization that supported that. The other one grew up out west. He lives here, he pays taxes here, and he's not going to agree to another tax dollar going to any changes to this. This school, you need to go up and go through the history library of this school's history. You need to refresh your memory about why you're here. You're here to educate these kids with honor and love and respect. Like I said, over 100 children have already signed a petition in just one grade.
You're starting to say the things. Thank you, Neil.
Jeff, if I may for a second, much of tonight's discussion has revolved, I mean, we've certainly hit on the big picture issue, Redskin or not Redskin, but much of the discussion tonight has revolved around the sign. It really has. We've heard that come up a number of different times. And this can be discussed long after Mr. Pruitt and I leave the room. This is not something you need to discuss in front of us, obviously. If you want the money back for the sign, and I really am being totally sincere in this, we will give you the money back. I'm saying this to you as a group.
This is where I think you guys are really confused.
Much
You
of
say
the
you don't get it,
discussion
you really
has
don't.
revolved. I'm responding though, guys. Listen to me. I'm responding, guys, to much of the discussion tonight.
The discussion is
It is revolved
dishonesty.
around the sign. How many times tonight have I heard you took $6,000 in an irresponsible manner? I'm telling you, I feel badly about that. If the group, right, and I feel badly that you feel as if
The sign
you
is
were
not
led
to fix
astray.
anything here.
Okay,
The
and
sign
that's,
is just another little
that's
notch
fine.
along the way.
And if you're saying that to me, I trust that answer, and I will take that answer back to my bosses. What I'm saying to you is, if it was that big of a sticking point with the group, I was looking to throw that out there as a discussion.
The issue is the sign was changed without any real legitimate reason to do so.
I get the issue. I understand that.
And the timing. Don't forget the timing.
Get order back here, please.
Jeff, that was only something that was for your group. I did not mean to elicit the emotional response, but I wanted to throw that out there as a talking point. That's all.
insulting.
That's all.
It's insulting.
It's affecting
you said. You're responding and reinforcing that you just don't get it.
I don't care.
Chuck Lukey.
My name is Chuck Lupie. I'm not an alumnus. The person I've been with for 20 years is an alumnus. Her name's Debbie Allen. A lot of you know her as a mascot when she was here. She's one of the few people in the United States that threw fire with a baton on your football field. I came here in 1971 from Joplin, Missouri, Chelsea, Oklahoma, Tulsa, Little Rock, Arkansas. I can name so many states that I've been in. I am a native Indian. I am half Cherokee, I have Osage, and I have Apache that runs in my family. I want you to answer me one question. Please, show me a red skin on an Indian. We're brown skin, we're light skin, we're not red. We put that on for war. We put that on for tradition, for show. The head bonnet that goes through this, Conrad, is an honor. Because that means that chief, the highest ranking as a president, only has the right to wear it. This school has the right to wear it. 80 years have been here. So you want to cross tradition with me? I will. I expect both of you and I respect both of you very much. Through the Indian part of it, I'm a graduate from the University of Missouri. I played 4 years of football at the University of Missouri. I've been on the powwows. I have danced in the powwows. I know what it's like to put the ring. Anybody that's ever been there knows there's a ring, and it's the chiefs. It's their family. No one else is invited in that circle. You have a tradition here. Since I've been here, I was a pretty good athlete. I've won more state tournaments in softball than probably 90% of the people. Guess who was on my team? Conrad, the Rappaports, the Kleins, the Allens, you name it. We have worked together very hard. This is what I'm going to say to you. The sign don't mean hell beans to me. Hell, I'll pay the $6,000. Here's what does mean something to me. The pride, the tradition, and the love of this school for American Indians, because if you continue it the way you're going to make us the stink, and I'm not going to stand for that. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is a sincere, passionate argument, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Eleanor Steele.
Speak up, please.
I want to ask the question, if this was a bottom-up or a top-down decision to approach this from a diversity economic standpoint?
This is a bottom-up decision.
I mean, there was nothing in there that the school board or the superintendent or anything,
No.
whether there was federal funding coming to the school.
Absolutely not. I could say with absolute certainty that it started within the walls of Conrad.
And then I think everybody should be taken into consideration, a vote taken within the school, within the community, a real vote, and the majority should rule.
And Eleanor, you know, I have a lot of respect for you. Been at these meetings all the time. I think that's part of the process. I think this group, your 700 votes, I don't think that this group of people thought that there was not going to be opposition. I don't think that, I think that they expected that people will come out and speak at a board meeting like you did this week. I think they expected that there would be dialogue, that you'd have to expand, possibly have an educational night or debate night. That's the kind of things that they're talking about now. That's the kind of thing. No, that's the kind of thing. No, but even with the timeline, they did not expect to come out, get 100 votes.
You come to our meetings all the time, and you never said a word about it. Two people asked you point blank to your face, are you presenting this any sooner than, what was it, April or May? You said no, and 2 nights later, it was presented to the board. It was a presentation.
Yeah, it was mentioned in the.
It was not a presentation to the board.
It was
The superintendent.
It came up in the superintendent's report. It still came up. You lied to 2 people, face to
If
face.
I'm wrong, Jeff, can I speak?
Yes.
Yes, may I? Thank you. First of all, my name's Steve Horgan, and I'm a graduate in 1978. My son goes here. I'm the Music Boosters president right now. We're on the PTO, my wife and I, and we're also on the Sports Boosters, and I can't tell you how many other things. And I am the president of the Woodcrest Civic Association. But I will not speak for them, because we have not discussed this issue there, okay? I sit on this committee. I've been in the same meetings that Jeff's been in, and Mr. and Mrs. Skelly have been in at the same time. And I was asked to be on there as a PTO person, because they didn't, the person who was going to do it couldn't do it. They asked for a volunteer, and I volunteered, okay? And I will say, and I'm proud to say, that my son was the one that was quoted in the paper about the dictionary, okay? That's his feeling, that's his right, and that's his opinion, okay? And I'm proud of him to be able to stand up and say that. And I think you would all be proud of your kids as well. In this committee, okay, when I first, and Jeff, please, and Mr. and Mrs. Skelly, if I say anything wrong out that came out of this committee, you please let me know. He's got to come out. When we first went to this, okay, it was, I thought as well, to discuss it. And as it turned out, it seemed there was an overwhelming feeling within the group that came to this meeting to change it. And that's kind of the way it went, okay? And there's all kinds of different comments out there. There's all kinds of things that happen. And we all know that times change, okay? They do. There are other words with cultures in this country that we do not use anymore, and we should not use anymore, okay? I want to make one thing perfectly clear. I have more Redskin gear in my house than any one of you combined, because my wife sells the PTO stuff and it still has Redskins on it. But I still wear mine, and I'm going to continue to wear mine no matter what happens with this, because it is part of my history. I love the school. I enjoyed my time here, as all of you did, and you're so passionate about it, okay? But times do change, all right? And you can argue what the word means, how it was originated, or whatever. But it was originated in 1930, whatever, 1940 something. So were some of these other words. And so were some of these other things that are said to people that are not done today, okay? And I'll just use one thing that I know that I just handed a group of yearbooks over to Mr. and Mrs. Lauschie to put in the museum that were handed to us by friends of friends of friends. So glad to have all that in there, okay? But right in there, it talks about Conrad and the history of the American Indian and how they're known as the Red Race, the Red Man, and the Redskins. My point is, my feeling is, because of the way these dynamics have changed with the world, forget political correctness. Well, I guess you can't forget political correctness. No. But at the end of the day, as that word was put together, even way back when, like one of the gentlemen said here, talking about the red man or whatever, you have basically called someone out by a skin color, which maybe in 1946 was okay, and our parents and things of that nature that had things to say about it as well, but it's not acceptable for today. Okay? And the last thing that I'll say, based on sitting on that committee and people thinking that there's only 25 people that are trying to make this change, that is not true as well. Okay? We don't know, as Mark said, exactly what the numbers are. We appreciate your passion. I have the same passion for the school. I'm in it all the time. Okay? So have the same passion that you have as well. Okay? But in the grand scheme of things, the committee took their time when it started to look at when are we going to put out a petition, start to educate, different things of that nature, okay? And they're not even there yet. I told you guys got ahead of the game. You jumped on it with both feet. Fair enough, okay? But this committee still should be given the opportunity to put themselves together with this, or you put something together to find the balance. Because I firmly believe that there can be a balance found in this. And my last thing that I'll say, I was at this meeting after we had the meeting down the hall, probably 2 of your meetings ago, when the kids presented, okay? And there was a discussion about removing the redskin, but keeping the headdress, okay? And there was a lot of discussion about that going around this room, and there was a number of people who agreed with that. And all of a sudden, now we're turned the other way and we're not going to get rid of it. To me, I think this group, and that committee have a chance to balance and come out of this on a very high road if it's done properly, okay? But we have to get away from, we have to start obviously communicating more, okay? And get everybody on a page, and not all of us are going to be happy one way or the other. It's just going to be the fact of life, okay? But my personal opinion is the wait times have changed and what we're teaching our kids. This group is the most diverse, the most culturally neutral in the world, okay? They don't care whether you have white hair, green hair, gray eyes, big, small, whatever. They are culturally neutral with all of their friends and everything that they do. And you guys, and I hope, have done a great job of teaching our kids this stuff, okay? But in the grand scheme of things, this is all part of it. And I think that the teaching needs to continue, okay? And I think in the end, there can be some balance found in this. Jeff, thank you, I'm sorry.
Redskin shirt because...
Tim, you know what? I love to ask that question. You know what? No one in this committee and no one in this process that's looking to make the change has asked anyone to remove anything that they wear or have, okay? I will continue to wear it until they wear out, and then I'll have to throw them out when I can't wear them anymore.
Somebody by wearing it?
Excuse me?
Aren't you going to offend somebody by
Wait a
wearing
minute,
it?
this is what we're trying to get you to understand. This is all part of our history, and that's okay. But there's going to be more history moving forward. There's going to be more history moving forward.
Tradition carrying it on.
I'm not saying I'm just as passionate as you guys, that's all. I'm not
Can I make one comment here?
You know, we got people who put their names
Okay,
in,
I'm
we
sorry.
can go on forever. Actually, my name's next, that's why I'm...
Jeff next.
What word, is there a word in particular you're trying to think that you were saying that we can't use anymore?
Redskins, could you call it
No,
something?
when you said there's other words.
Well, you want them out there? Wop, spit, the N-word.
Were they ever identified like as a real word in the dictionary, or are we talking slang?
I can't answer that question.
Okay, the N-word actually meant an ignorant individual.
No,
So that's automatically insulting.
But again, it's gone.
And
It's gone.
Except on open mics.
let me finish. And the other thing is like it's because some ignorant people, some ill-intended people utilize that word for what it's not intended. The same thing with the word redskin. The poster they handed out in that meeting, it's ill-intended people that utilize that word to mean something other than what it really meant, which was a Northern American Indian. So you're basically saying we should empower these ill-intended people and make changes for everyone else in the society too because of that. That's what it's coming down to. There's groups out there now that have ill intentions for us, that are calling certain groups of people to die, certain groups of people to be beheaded. There are terrorist groups in ISIS that are against Jews, Catholics, Christians, Americans. Will we eventually strike those from our dictionary? Change the meanings of those? Eventually you have to stop this. My point to, thank you, my point to the group that started this, whether it be the 25 or whether it be a diversity committee that comes out there, what you had here was almost utopia. With great student body, unbelievable teachers, a recognized administrator, an alumni group that's been out of school for 50, 60 years but still show up here to support the kids, even though they don't have a student here, they don't have a grandchild here, they still come in, put in the effort to enhance the education of this school because they love it. Why? And a community that stands behind it, that couldn't wait for it to open again so they could relive those days and support a school that they love again. Why we went and screwed this up, I have no idea. That's all I've got to say. Next, Tim Lausch. I've got time.
Honest to God,
When that flashes.
About this school coming back on the backs of this community. I was here in 1978. I literally turned the light off in the band room when we emptied the stuff, put it in trucks, and took it to Wilmington High School. And then here we have our middle school. Kids went to Wilmington High, they played Cherokee, they got detention, and then they got suspended. It was awful. But Nancy, Marty, Sue, a whole bunch of us, our kids came to this school as a middle school, and we embraced it and made it our own. My very good friend Jim Tharp, who's the band director at Wilmington High and now the band director at CAB, continued on as CAB in charge. We had 2 alumni football games here, one in 80-something and one in 93. And if you'd like to see the video of them, they were the game of the week on TV both times. 5,000 people came to this, and it was the piece of shit field. It was dilapidated. It was, the press box was falling down. The concession stand, which I helped build in 1965, it was a mess. 5,000 people came to see old fat guys play touch football, and the band, and we had mums, and these are 5,000 people that are going to vote for the referendums and are going to support everything. I'm telling you now, I'm going to put the band in Woodcrest, and you, Mr. President, we're going to march around and we're going to play Cherokee, and I'm going to knock at every door there is in Woodcrest. And you want support from the community? We'll get support from the community because we're not getting it here. As a lot of you know, I'm at St. Joseph's University, and we were lucky enough in 2005 to have the Player of the Year and the Coach of the Year. Phil Martelli was the Coach of the Year, but not because he was the best coach, but because Jameer Nelson and the team made him the best coach. You're letting me down, Mark. You're not the best principal, but this school made you the best principal and made you look good and brought whatever love and honor we all, every one of us, feel. And the alumni band has probably played at, I don't know, 20 funerals? Funerals! We got old twirlers and old drummers and old flags, and we can hardly stand up. And what these people want to hear before they go in the ground, or not, they don't hear us, but whatever, is Cherokee. $6,000. Keep your damn $6,000.
We don't have any more that have signed up. If you have anything you'd like to say, yes.
I'd like to know if there's still a school newspaper online, I guess. I know it's not like a smoke signal, but to inform the student body. Okay, to inform the student body, it's been said that maybe the student body isn't aware of what's going on. So if there's a paper, couldn't they put something in the paper to inform the students about what's going on and invite them to your committee?
Yeah, that's a great idea to use the paper. The paper is still called the smoke signal.
We have Rocky DeMeo that signed up. I'm sorry I missed his one.
Class of 1973. I just sort of want to add on to a couple of things that and kind of bring up how Sue said. There was no transparency with you and this board, and you know how supportive this board has been to this school over the years. And there was no transparency bringing this change the mascot to this board before February of this year. None. The other thing about Ozzie and the sign, what do you think the message was sent to the students and the teachers here? And that sign was put up without the headdress and the way it was put up. It was saying, Mark supports change the mascot. That's the message it sent. That's the message it sent. And I think that you can disagree with this, but in my opinion, the superintendent said, change the mascot, Mark, make this happen. And that's exactly the road and the line you're telling here. I don't care what you say. That's my opinion. The other thing is, if you're going to change the mascot, I'm going to say this again, take the name off the school, and we could all say, My school doesn't exist anymore. When I went there, it was Henry C. Conrad Redskins. Take the name, if you're gonna change the mascot, take the